Major beaches in Sydney remain closed this morning after a woman was attacked by a shark at Coogee. The 35-year-old suffered critical injuries to her left lower leg and arms after being bitten by the shark yesterday morning. She was swimming about 30 metres offshore at the time.
Well, Randwick Council says the shark was believed to be 3 to 4 metres in length. The woman is currently in a critical but stable condition at St Vincent's Hospital.
Well, off-duty lifeguard Charlie Verco was the first person to reach the woman at Coogee yesterday. He joins us now live from Bondi. Charlie, welcome to you. So you're on your board out back. When was the first you knew something was wrong?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I was paddling through Coogee and just about 100 metres ahead of me, a group of swimmers started shouting shark. And that happens a little bit when you're in the water. Most of the time it's usually not a shark, but as I started paddling over close towards them, I could see this thing underwater moving quite slowly, and I almost thought it was moving a bit inquisitively, and I thought it would just have a look at them, realise they weren't food and leave them alone. But I guess I first knew something was seriously wrong once it actually grabbed the lady, and I could see her getting dragged around a little bit. That was a pretty freaky thing to see.
Charlie, when people out back there saw the shark, were they trying to swim in? I mean, was there panic?
Yeah, when she initially started screaming shark, there was a couple of swimmers near me as well, and you'd assume everyone would just swim straight to the beach. We weren't that far from shore. But I guess I was the nearest thing to get people out of the water, so people started kind of paddling over towards my board, assuming that I would let them onto the board and take them to the beach, and I kind of had to go, guys, the shark's not near you, you need to swim in, I need to go over to these other people.
So you went over, and was the shark still there?
Yeah, so as I was paddling over to her, that was when she actually got bitten, and that was where I went, okay, I'm not really sure what I should do here. Kept paddling over towards her and saw the shark come out of the water, and was really shocked by the actual size of it. I could see the dorsal fin and the tail fin and the body of it, and I felt like I was looking up at the shark just because it was so big. And that was where I really went, I actually don't know what I can do here to help. It's just too big for me to actually do anything. And so I just looked to the beach, tried to signal to the lifeguards, just a big codex to get them to understand what was going on out there, clear the water, and if they could get some powercraft in the water to help out. And yeah, then there was a lot of blood in the water. She ended up getting taken underwater for a second, and I couldn't see where she was because it was all red. And luckily she popped up and the shark had let her go, and I was able to get close enough to bring her into shore.
Were you scared?
Yes, I was very scared. When I actually saw the shark, that was when I was going, I don't know what I can do. And obviously all I really wanted to do was go into shore, but I was the only one near her that was not swimming, so I knew that if I went in, then she was just going to be left on her own. There was nothing to be done.
Did you pull her onto your board?
No, so when I went over to her, as I said, there was so much blood in the water that I couldn't really see below me, so I couldn't see where the shark was, and I just got her to grab the nose of my board and started paddling backwards. I wasn't on a rescue board, I was on a board designed for open ocean paddling. It's really long and not very agile, and not designed to have another person on it with me. So also because we were so close to the shore, I thought it just made sense to just start dragging her in, was the fastest way to get her to the beach.
Were you sure at that stage that the shark had gone?
No, I knew it was still there. I knew it was somewhere. I was pretty certain by the fact that it had let her go, that it had figured it out she wasn't a seal and wasn't that interested in coming back at her. But I was definitely still forefront in my mind was going, there's a big shark here and it's not afraid to attack things. So that was definitely very scary.
So how did you get back to the beach?
Yeah, so she was too weak to hold onto the nose of the board. I ended up paddling back up to her and getting her to hang onto the drink bottle cage. And at this point she was in quite a bit of shock, but she was still able to say help and respond to instructions. And I just started doing two arms, like back paddling, trying to get back to the shore. And that worked for most of the way in, but she ended up losing consciousness and letting go of the board. So I had to paddle up to her again and grab her by the arm and just hold her out of the water and just keep her head out of the water so she could breathe, and just paddle back with one arm for the last little bit just to try and get her to shore as quickly as I could.
Were you talking to her?
Yeah. Once I was holding on to her and she was next to me, I just tried to say anything, I guess, that would take her mind away from her injuries. So it didn't feel very significant what I was saying. I was just saying, keep your head above the water, keep breathing, you're doing really well. We're almost ashore, just that kind of stuff felt felt like it wasn't doing much, but I guess I just didn't want it to be dead silent while I was dragging her.
And then others came to help as well?
Yeah, so I think I'm pretty grateful for my surf lifesaving training, where I knew that to signal to the beach and get them on the same page of what was going on out the back. So when I did end up getting close to shore, a lifeguard were there, paddled with a board up to me, and when we got to where we could stand, he actually grabbed her legs and I grabbed her torso, and we carried her onto the sand where there was already another 10 people waiting. It was such a busy day at Coogee. There was police there on standby ready to go. There was the council lifeguards, but also quite a few people just from the public that obviously had medical training. And once we put her on the ground, I put pressure on her leg, and while they put the tourniquet on her arms and legs, and once that happened, I could see that these people were more trained than me, and I was able to step back and let them take over.
Charlie, must have been pretty confronting though to see those injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. It was when I first saw her leg, I remember actually just going, don't look at that, just focus on getting ahead of the beach, because it was quite a gruesome thing to see when you're kind of confronted with the fact that we are just a body with a brain. It was, I won't go into more detail than that, but it was quite an upsetting thing to see. But I was very action focused on going, the only thing I can really do to help here is get her to the beach.
She was then, as you say, dealt with by experts on the scene and taken to hospital in an ambulance. Charlie, what did you do when the ambulance pulled off?
So once I let the medical professionals take over, I stood back and just took a breath to make sure that I was in the right state, and I was pretty happy that I was thinking rationally, and I was calm relative to the scenario. Obviously, I had a lot of adrenaline pumping through me. I had a little bit of a shake in the leg after that while I was holding up boards to kind of screen for privacy. I also went over and just checked with the other girls that were next to her swimming, because I assumed that they knew her, which I'm pretty sure they actually didn't. But they were quite emotional. It was a pretty full-on thing to see happen, and they saw the shark meters away from them as well. I also went and checked that my dad was all right. He was out there paddling on a ski a couple 100 meters ahead of me, and another couple friends were paddling further out to sea and wanted to make sure they were all on shore. And then I guess I just stood nearby, and once they actually took her away, I just kind of wanted to get out of there. It was quite a full-on scene, and yeah, just wanted to clear my head a little bit.
You're a regular down there, obviously you're in the water all the time. Have you seen an increase in sharks?
Yeah, I'm a surf lifesaving Ironman in the summer and trained for this race, and I'm preparing for it in Hawaii during the winter, so I spend every day in the water most of my life. Most days of my life I've been in the water, and definitely over the last year or two there's been a massive increase in the number of sharks I've seen, as well as the number of shark sightings and attacks that I've heard just through the community. I'd say there'd be more in the last year than I've heard or seen in my entire life before that. So I'm not educated on the subject, but I think there definitely needs to be some action taken to make us feel a little bit safer on our beaches, because the beach is such an important part of Australian culture, and we pride ourselves on being a coastal nation. And I've personally don't feel as safe going into the water now. I'm pretty cautious, and this was an example of, she was doing all the things correct. She was in close to the shore at one of the busiest beaches in Australia on a really clear day, a really busy day. In the middle of the day, it wasn't sunset or sunrise, and it happened in between the flags. It just shows that you can be vulnerable at any point now.
Are you going back in the water sometime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important part of my life, and there's always risks that you've got to acknowledge. But I'm definitely going to be very cautious around it.